What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the best One Donnie here with.
What's going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. Me and Donnie ride solo for this AEW prediction video. I'm hoping that I don't have any internet issues, but if I do, you know what? Fuck Xfinity. What's going on, man?
What is going on? And we want to let the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know that this Sunday for AEW Wrestle Dream, we're going to be doing a live watch along here on the channel, Danny and myself. It's going to be a great time. But before we dive into our predictions, if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review. Not just a 5-star review, but a best one review, and download the episode. But if you're watching this over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, we have lots of awesome content over there. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now. Turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real. And normally, how we like to start these prediction videos off, what are your thoughts on the build for Wrestle Dream?
I actually really enjoy it. I feel like with this show, particularly, like, you know, we had issues with All In, All Out, like the builds weren't that good or whatever. But I feel like they've sort of turned a corner to where they really put a lot of time and effort into the show and building up what it is. Now, I don't know if that's just because of, you know, the basis that the show is built upon with the whole tribute to Inoki, New Japan legend, if you guys don't know him. I don't really know him per se, but I know enough about him to understand why this show is happening. But I gotta say one thing, man, and I feel like I'm not the only one that feels this way. But I feel like if they're gonna make this an annual tradition, like an every, not saying it's gonna be, you know, dedicated to somebody every year or whatever, but if this is legitimately gonna be on the AEW calendar card every year, they need to figure out if they're gonna do Forbidden Door, continue to do Forbidden Door, if they're gonna just change it, swipe it, and get rid of that and do Wrestle Dream, because it almost has the same concept.
And that's the thing, like, I'm noticing as well that AEW is looking to increase their pay-per-views now that they have the whole HBO Max thing that's supposed to be announced within, I believe, the next couple weeks, right?
Yeah, and I heard it's not going to go into effect until early 2024. Andrew Zarian from the Wrestling Observer talked about it on his podcast, and he said he can confirm that within, you know, the first quarter of 2024 that the pay-per-views are going to be on Max. Now, we are still very unsure if because I guess with HBO Max they're going to be expanding and having a section for Bleacher Report. Now, I don't know if the pay-per-views are going to be like Peacock, to where like
They better be like Peacock.
You have access to them, or if you have to pay the monthly fee, but also pay a little bit on top of that for the AEW pay-per-views. We're not quite sure.
All I know is I really hope that I don't have to pay $50 every month for a pay-per-view. I would love AEW to increase their pay-per-views because it seems like with the amount of superstars that they have and, you know, having Collision now for 2 hours, having Dynamite for 2 hours, and then having Rampage for 1 hour, I feel like they have enough people to have consistent, good quality pay-per-views once a month. I think that they definitely have the possibility of doing that. At first, it was a great idea, I think, them doing only, you know, 5 pay-per-views a year, but we're starting to see the cons of that. And I think, you know, AEW definitely will be in a better position if they have pay-per-views to look forward to every month. I just hope that it is like Peacock, because if you're paying for a subscription, you should be able to get the pay-per-views for free. It shouldn't be like Honor Club where you're paying $10 a month and then you have to pay $40 for the pay-per-view. Shouldn't be like that.
And I talked to you a little bit about it because at first you were like, you liked the idea of having AEW pay-per-views, you know, every quarter or whatever it was, you know, having like 5-6 a year or whatever. And obviously, like you said, we see the cons of that every week. And like I explained, I talked to you in the Facebook message about it, and I was, sort of gave you my explanation as to why it would be a good idea to have pay-per-views every month. Because if we do 12 pay-per-views a year, the TK and the management for AEW, they won't be able to stray. I feel like they stray away from storylines way too much. And I feel like if they had pay-per-views every month that they need to build towards,
It's quick storylines, and I think that's when they do better.
consistency. It'll add
I
that
agree.
consistency.
And I think that's like what they need. So honestly, I got to give my thoughts about, Wrestle Dream. I think that the build has been pretty good. I think that a lot of these matches do make sense because they actually aren't last minute booking. And honestly, I'm looking forward to this more than I thought I was.
You weren't going to originally order the show, and then you started seeing the build or whatever, and you were like, I need to fucking watch
I'll tell you, Dynamite this past Wednesday sold me. I will say that. They did a fantastic job with that. And I got to say, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, I think that they had a great episode of Dynamite. Rampage for 2 hours. I actually did watch it. It was actually good, like, Rampage was supposed to be. And, Collision also was very well done as well. And I was very impressed. So honestly, like these past few episodes of AEW TV, they have sold me. And I'm very impressed. And honestly, I'm very excited for this card. Just sucks that it is on a work night, but hey, it is what it is. Some old school wrestling on a Sunday night. Let's go.
Well, I mean, I will say in AEW's defense, majority of their pay-per-views are on Sundays. Every so often they'll do one like on Saturday, like Forbidden Door, whatever it is. But a lot of their pay-per-views, big shows, are usually on Sundays. So it's nothing really new.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I'm just saying like it's old school wrestling because back with, WWE, they used to have them on Sundays as well. And I just kind of got like used to the whole Saturday thing. It's a lot easier for people that got to work Monday through Friday. And outside of being a content creator, I do that. So it is going to suck Monday morning waking up, but I really hope that I get my money's worth.
Let's hope it's a killer show that we'll be talking about for a while, so it makes that a little bit
worth
it.
Absolutely. So now, with that being said, let's dive into the matches. And obviously, the card subject, can change because Danny and I were recording this on a Thursday night.
One thing that did change was Adam Cole's injury. They were supposed to defend the tag titles against the Righteous. Now, at the current time recording this, I don't think it's gonna change unless something happens on Rampage or Collision. But as of right now, it's gonna be a handicap match, MJF versus the Righteous. So,
which I do have that, but that's what I was letting the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know. We're recording this on a late Thursday night, and this will be coming out on Friday before Rampage. So this is the card as of right now. Things could change, things could get added. But with that being said, let's dive into the first match, which, believe it or not, it is the handicap match for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. MJF defending the championships by himself against the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch.
Yeah, man. So I'm not totally 100% sold on MJF and Adam Cole as the ROH Tag Team Champions.
I'm not sold on any of them being Ring of Honor champions, man. It's like everybody like on the AEW roster is holding the championships, and it's not even Ring of Honor people, except for Shibata.
I feel like one, they're trying to get a boost in the ratings, kind of like what WWE's doing, having
with NXT, except it's watered down.
Yeah, and I feel like it would have been better suited to have MJF and Adam Cole as the AEW Tag Team Champions because it would have made more sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, FTR has a lot of momentum this time around as champions.
Yeah. Part of me does think with this match, something big is going to happen. Obviously, we saw the cliffhanger from Dynamite on Wednesday, which obviously you guys talked about on this week's episode of the podcast, which is coming out tomorrow. But we already pretty much know who's underneath that mask, or at least I do. I think it's Adam Cole, but part of me doesn't believe it could. Now, here's the cool thing about having somebody under a mask, right?
You can make it anybody.
You can make it anybody until the reveal happens. So this could very well be a possibility in order to keep the storyline going, because Adam Cole obviously needs surgery. This is a way to keep it fresh until he's able to come back. I will say a broken ankle is a lot quicker and a lot easier to come back from than like a torn pec or a torn ACL, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's not going to be very long for him, recovery time wise. But I feel like something big is going to happen, and I do believe this is going to set up MJF to be the leader of the kingdom, and it's going to be MJF, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett. And I feel like MJF is going to be sort of like the leader. And then at some point, obviously, it's going to, Adam Cole is going to end up turning on MJF, and and the kingdom's going to end up going with him. So I feel like this match is setting up something big.
So, here's my thoughts about this. That mask, man, what a cliffhanger. That is how I want AEW television to be every week. And the reason why I think you and I both loved Collision when CM Punk was there, because it felt like a 2-hour television show. And I don't really like Vince Russo that much, but one thing I will praise the man with, some of his, takes in pro wrestling today is they do focus too much on the in-ring stuff, and they don't focus on the television side of things. And last, Dynamite, that was a perfect cliffhanger to get you interested in what's going to happen during next week, or what's going to happen at the next show. And I think that was fantastic. Even MJF starting a feud with Jay White, I am super excited about
Bro, that promo was fucking phenomenal.
And I think that's going to be a great build for Full Gear, I think.
You know what I could see? I could very well see Jay White screwing Adam Cole and MJF out of the tag champions, having the Righteous become the ROH tag champions, because they've been getting their name out there. They've been becoming bigger stars or whatever. Why not, they're legitimate ROH talent. Why not give them the tag titles? And if MJF does get screwed by Jay White, that can set up a feud for them even more. So it does add more
animosity to the feud.
And nobody's gonna bat an eye if MJF loses because he got screwed out of the match.
So here's what I do want to say before I do give my predictions on this. Vincent and Dutch, I'm very happy that they're getting this opportunity, because in case you guys, don't know, I'm a huge advocate for independent pro wrestling. And I got to watch Vincent and Dutch, wrestle for Northeast Wrestling for a very long time, before, getting onto this stage. So I am very happy that, Vincent is getting this opportunity. He's somebody that, I got to watch, his first year in the business. And he has a lot of, he really reminds me a lot of Raven. And I'm very excited to see what he can do on this stage. And I think having the exposure of going against a guy like MJF, who's very over right now with the crowd, I think I'm very happy for these guys. I wish that, they did have Vita Von Star with them. I wish that they had Tyler Bateman with them. But hey, I'll take Dutch and I'll take Vincent. But now, getting into my predictions for this, I do have MJF retaining the championships with, Adam Cole. I think that he's going to get that massive John Cena, babyface, pop. I think that this is going to be a great match and a fun one. And here's what I would want to happen. MJF retains the titles. Then the Kingdom are going to get involved with, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Roderick Strong. We need them to stay in the picture with MJF during this time while Adam Cole is away. And I think that they should find some way to maybe do a 2-on-1 handicap match and have, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven take the titles from MJF. I think that would add a lot more to that, which I feel like is a very important key into this storyline.
Can we just sit here and appreciate what a fantastic job Roderick Strong is doing? Because even when he was a part of the Undisputed Era in NXT, he was sort of the guy, that sort of stayed in the back. He didn't really, get to express his, characteristic side.
Dude, what he's doing right now with this whole Next Strong thing is fantastic. Like, he's playing that perfect whiny, friend that feels betrayed because he's jealous that Adam Cole's paying more attention to MJF. I love every second of this storyline. And
So
Roderick Strong has done fantastic. Going from being just a pro wrestler to now, having some more character and personality, which I love.
and
The
he's
segments
living
on
this gimmick.
Dynamite with him in the hospital, fantastic.
And he's living this
Last
gimmick
week.
100. He's living this gimmick 100%. And I feel like he took some pointers from MJF. But JD from New York and his buddy Jesse there that does the Dynamite reactions or Dynamite reviews with him on Wednesdays. They both went to Wembley Stadium. They were both there. And they would see Roderick Strong walking around the UK and walking around Wembley Stadium and walking around the hotel with the fucking neck brace, bro.
That's kayfabe, man. And I
He's
love
living
when
the
wrestlers
fucking gimmick,
stay in
man.
kayfabe. So who do you have winning this match, Danny?
Who do I want to win and who do I think is gonna win? It's gonna be two different things.
All right.
I do want the Righteous to win. And I don't obviously want them to win clean. I would like Jay White to get involved because we saw that heated promo between him and MJF on Wednesday. I feel like if Jay White screws him, that could set up a feud between them for the next couple of months until Adam Cole comes back. And let's say they have a championship match at like Full Gear or something down the road. And that could be when Adam Cole comes back and, he's in the corner of his best friend again. I think that'd be really cool. But realistically, who do I think is going to win? I think it's going to be MJF. I think he's going to, like you said, man, he's going to get that John Cena-like pop. He's going to, conquer the do they have a nickname? The Righteous? He's in a handicap match between them two. So it's going to be interesting to see.
He's going to kangaroo kick their heads off their bodies.
He can't do a double clothesline, though, but he can do the kangaroo kick.
That's right. He has 2 moves in his arsenal as a tag team specialist. Exactly. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. So we do both have MJF, right?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on now to our next match on the card. We have Absolute Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta.
This match is going to be fucking brutal, bro. It's going to be very hard hitting. We saw obviously on Wednesday, they played back. I didn't watch Collision on Saturday. So we saw like a backstage interview after the Texas Death match that Ricky Starks had with Danielson. And that pretty much set up the match nicely between Wheeler Yuta and Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks, man, it's only a matter of time before he goes to WWE. He's WWE bound 100%.
I agree. He's a Cody Rhodes guy.
Wheeler Yuta, bro. Can we talk about how much the dude has improved? I mean, he was with Best Friends and Danhausen and all that. And fucking look at the guy, man.
Wheeler Shitta, man, back then.
I mean, and I remember.
Oh, no, the nickname that Jim Cornette gave him was Wheeler Useless.
Bro, I remember.
Oh, man.
It was back when we were still doing Dynamite reactions, or not reactions, reviews after the shows. And I remember the night that happened, that Wheeler Yuta joined Bullet Club Blackpool Combat Club. You were very skeptical. You were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, because at the time I really wanted Daniel Garcia to get that moment, but they honestly did make the right choice. And I gotta say, this match does make sense, even though they planned it. Last week on Collision, they have been building the feud with Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson is a part of the Blackpool Combat Club. So it only makes sense. And, he's had, those, confrontations with, Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta and Claudio. So it definitely makes sense. And I like this because they're both, AEW stars going at it. And I think that they're both, on the same level of each other. So I think that this is going to make a very fun match. And it makes sense, which is also another reason why I'm satisfied with this card and this match in particular. And I think that this is going to be a fun one and potentially a match of the night, maybe.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's going to be match of the night, but it's definitely going to be it's piqued my interest, and like I said, this is all about storytelling consistently. Like, not just
And
having
that's one thing that
random
they
matches
have done
thrown together.
very well with Ricky Starks on Collision, man. He's one of the top guys over there, and I'm glad, even with CM Punk being gone, Ricky Starks is still one of the top guys over there. And I
Oh,
think that Bryan
absolutely.
Danielson has done a pretty good job, filling that role that CM Punk did.
Exactly, man.
They just have to continue to write, consistent television, because obviously they don't have Ace Steel and CM Punk, writing it anymore. It's Tony
Yeah.
Khan, and that's the biggest concern. But, getting back into this match, who do we have winning this?
Again, it
AEW
goes
predictions are so hard.
again, it goes back to, like, who do I want to win and who do I think is gonna win? You know what I mean? I honestly would not mind them giving this to Wheeler Yuta. I mean, Ricky Starks, he's pretty much already made guy. He's had bangers with MJF, he's had bangers with Danielson, Claudio, all those guys. And I feel like Wheeler Yuta, even though, like, he's, a big name in the BCC, he has yet to really cement his footprint. And I feel like if he got an upset on Ricky Starks,
It has
I
been a
feel like
little
it
bit
would
since he's had a big win.
I feel like it'll do a lot for his career. And I do feel like Ricky Stark's one of those guys that if he sees potential in somebody, he has no problem putting them over.
Absolutely. So here's who I have winning this match. I think that Ricky Starks, he's going to win. I think he's a bigger star than, Wheeler Yuta right now, especially with him being, one of the staples of Collision. I think Tony Khan is going to keep, trying to make Starks happy so that he doesn't, jump over to the flagship show, WWE, because we all know it's a matter of time before, that contract's up and he signs a fat deal over there. He is WWE bound. But I think Tony Khan's going to, keep trying to utilize him and try to, sway him. And I think that Ricky's going to win this because he has lost to Bryan Danielson twice. And, he, did lose to CM Punk as well. He hasn't won a big match yet. And technically, if you're on a pay-per-view, it is considered a big match.
Yep.
And I think that Wheeler Yuta is, just going to put him over. I think it's going to be very competitive. And I think that, they're going to move on from the storyline after this so that Ricky Starks, still looks strong. And maybe it'll create more tension with Wheeler Yuta and the Blackpool Combat Club. And maybe we'll get more of an angrier side of him, which is something I feel like that's been missing for the past, few weeks since his Blood and Guts match.
Yeah, I feel like that too. It's almost like he's sort of
he's just letting Claudio uppercut him.
Everybody looks like, everybody looks at Claudio and Moxley and, Danielson, obviously. And everybody's like, like you have these three heavy hitters and then you have this guy, Will Yuta. Like, what does he fucking do? I feel like sooner or later he's going to want to, have that separation. I still have love for those guys, but he's really going to want to show the world what the fuck he's capable of.
And remind you, the BCC has been losing as well. Claudio just lost his Ring of Honor championship. John Moxley just lost his international championship. So I won't be surprised if Ricky wins this.
How long do you think they're gonna go as a group? Because every group I feel like has a time.
Well, I think with Bryan Danielson being back, he just doesn't fit the BCC anymore. And I think it's only a matter of time before, they split them up.
He's Danielson.
Or they just, reconstruct the group.
Yeah. Danielson's pretty much like a babyface now, so he doesn't fit the mold of what BCC was built upon. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there's nothing you could do because he's such a good babyface.
Exactly. Fans, everything that dude's been through, his time on Total Divas,
the fans are with
him, having to retire because of his neck and, other issues or whatever, and him finally coming back. Fans don't want to have to boo him. They want to cheer him. And, you really can't,
and especially with the reports that come out about him, like Tony Khan saying, like, if something ever, God forbid, happened to him, he would want his dad to give AEW to Bryan Danielson. That tells you everything about Bryan Danielson and the type of person he is. Very down to earth, very chill. Great family man, family comes first, great pro wrestler. I think that, this this match is going to be very well. I do have Ricky. You have Wheeler Yuta.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, moving on now to our next match. We have a number 1 contenders match for a future shot at the AEW Tag Team Championships. We have the Young Bucks versus the Guns versus Orange Cassidy and Hook versus Lucha Bros.
Can we just sit here and talk about how well the Guns are doing in Bullet Club Gold, man?
Dude, they are fantastic. I think they're solid, in-ring workers. I love that they're old school workers. They don't do, the crazy spots to get over. They're very entertaining. They're, the crowd, they love to hate the Guns, which is great. And the entrance and the presentation is what puts them over the top. I love when the lights, dim and they shut the lights off. And then they get that really cool round, cinematic shot of them, like, doing the little guns. And man, the gear that they have, like, they are striving right
They're definitely
now.
like old school, I feel like,
Very old school.
Look who their dad is, you know what I mean? So,
and honestly, I love what they've done with the Guns. They don't need Billy whatsoever. I think Billy with the Acclaimed is perfect. And I think that the Guns, man, keep them with Bullet Club Gold. Because Bullet Club Gold, man, you can thank Collision. Because Collision has given them,
I gotta admit, man,
show to help
when
them.
Bullet Club Gold first started coming around, and like that, when they first introduced, like that's what the name was gonna be. Wasn't sold on it, man, because like obviously Bullet Club is known or whatever, and then they were like Bullet Club Gold, like I didn't fucking like the name for whatever reason, man, but like they really showed me, like,
Collision has really given them that platform to, really shine.
If it wasn't for Collision, man, I don't think they'd be as over as they are. Just because.
And now they're putting Jay White in a main event picture with MJF, which is exactly where he needs to be.
Bro, he's only been in AEW for like what, 4 months, 5 months. Remember around WrestleMania, everybody was like, "Oh, Jay White's
WWE," and now I think that was Royal Rumble.
No, that was WrestleMania. Everybody assumed that the night at the Raw after Mania that Jay White was going to debut. And nope.
And I got to say, man, he definitely made the right choice. But going into this tag match, I got to say, this is interesting. I do like that the Young Bucks are in here because obviously they, lost to FTR at, All Out. We have the Guns who have been on fire. They deserve to be in this spot. Lucha Bros, we haven't seen them really in like a big tag match in a while. So I think that this is, good for them. And we have Orange Cassidy and Hook, which honestly, I'm not going to lie, I'm not complaining. I think that they do have, pretty solid, chemistry. I think that, the interviews backstage have been hilarious with, them eating chips and then just saying, want to go for the titles? Sure.
I mean, we thought that Hook.
But I would rather Hook be a single star. Yeah. But hey, it is what it is. They're both going to be on the card. They have nothing for Hook right now, so
yeah, exactly. The thing about being a singles is, like they only have very limited amount of time, to really, throw people on the card. There's people that they aren't using at all. I mean, Wardlow, for instance. So I'd rather Hook be in a tag team and be seen.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. It would have been so cool to have Hook and Rob Van Dam team in this because that was a really fun match on Collision. Because they both did team during Collision, which that was a really fun match, and they did have some really cool chemistry. It would make sense for them to team. But I know Rob Van Dam, they have him on like, special deal where they bring him in, here and there, which, is cool for him. I will say this. If Danhausen was healthy, I would have had Danhausen and Orange Cassidy team.
Does anybody have any?
Danhausen got hurt. I did really like that team.
Does anybody have any news on Danhausen? He's been hurt for like a year and a half.
Should be coming back pretty soon. I know he had a shoulder injury.
I know he's been doing like convention appearances and stuff like that, and autograph signings and stuff. So he's been around. I didn't know if there was any updates.
Probably like another like couple months, probably, because he did have a shoulder injury, and usually the shoulder does take a long time to heal.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I'm happy with the 4 teams that are in it. I can't really complain too much. I do think that for me, I would have replaced Orange Cassidy and Hook with Best Friends only because they have, picked up a lot of momentum since.
You know what
And
team I thought really
I don't
had a
know.
lot of potential?
Or you could add Claudio and Wheeler.
You could have. Well, Wheeler's in a tag match already.
Wheeler's in a singles,
Or
yeah.
a singles match. You know what team really had a lot of potential, but I feel like AEW wasted them? But the Butcher and the Blade.
Dude, they should be consistently on TV. That really pisses me off the way that, they book these guys. Because
Sam
they're
Roberts just
so
did
good.
Sam Roberts just did like an hour and a
So
half
good.
interview on his YouTube channel with Butch. Fucking watch it, bro.
Dude, they're so good. I don't understand why they're not on TV. But I do
Butcher's
gotta,
only been
but I do gotta say though, this I think will be a fun match overall. You're
it
gonna
will
get your
be.
fun Orange Cassidy spots. You're gonna get your hook spots, super kicks all over the place.
Bro,
A lot of high flying.
I legitimately feel like they're turning Orange Cassidy into like the Roman Reigns of AEW.
Dude, he's the workhorse of AEW.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like TK must love this fucking guy. Like the
Hey,
way
he
he's
is
been
one of the
booked.
best wrestlers. I believe he was number 8 this year in the Pro Wrestling Illustration
Jeez.
500. But who do we have winning this match?
I gotta go with the Guns, man. I gotta go with the Guns. I feel like they've been very consistent. I feel like having titles in Bullet Club Gold until, I could see the Guns having the AW tag titles, Jay White being the AW champion, and Juice Robinson being the TNT champion.
Or international championship.
Or
'Cause Christian's
international
cooking.
champion. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just feel like, the Guns, I liked them when they were tag team champions, and I feel like it'll give them a little bit more to do instead of just being the guys behind Jay White
I'm
and
not
Juice
gonna
Robinson.
lie to you. We haven't had a faction hold all the titles yet in AEW. Like, we were close to that with the Young Bucks with the tag titles and Omega with the world title, but like, the other championships weren't, we never had that yet in AEW. I would not mind that at all, honestly, but
Bullet Club Gold has been fucking cooking too.
I'm going to say this. I am going to say the Guns. I do want the Guns to win. I'm going to go with my gut feeling.
Man.
The Guns, they definitely deserve this the most. The Young Bucks, Hangman, they already got the Ring of Honor trio titles that don't even matter. But hey, they already got titles, so let's not have them win. Let's have the Guns win. So I'm going to go with the Guns.
Fuck yeah, man.
But moving on now to,
It's going to be a good match.
Yes, sir. But our next match on this card, we have a 2 out of 3 falls match for the TNT Championship. Christian Cage versus Darby Allin.
Bro, man, this is the match I've been waiting to talk about. This is the best work that Christian's done in his entire career, man. Like,
Can I just say this?
I feel like when it was Edge and Christian back in the Attitude Era, I feel like Edge was always number 1 and Christian was always number 2. Like, he never really had the opportunity to really shine and show what he could do. And I feel like now he's finally getting that time.
Well, he was able to in TNA wrestling when he left WWE
but it wasn't
in
as
2005.
big as this.
And not true, because TNA at the time, they were pulling in like 2 to 3 million a week. But after that, he, went to, the ECW brand, won the title, made the championship prestigious, but then, went on to, the main roster, ended up winning the World Heavyweight Championship on SmackDown, feuding with Randy Orton that whole summer. And then, he was just misused. And, now with AEW, yeah, he's really, striving right now, and he is putting on some of his best work. I think Christian is way better outside of WWE, because even his TNA run, it was short, but it was so good, and he felt like a main event player. AEW, at first when he was brought in, he felt like a main event player, but then he kind of got lost in the shuffle with Jungle Bitch and, Luchasaurus. But then, he was able to find that, happiness with, his heel work, because Christian works phenomenally as a heel. And I
Yep.
got to say, right now, he is putting on some of the best work in his whole career.
So I gotta
don't discredit his TNA run.
Yeah, don't discredit nothing. I will say, and this is gonna be a little bit of a spoiler, and this is pretty much, we already know how the match is gonna go, so it's not really a spoiler. I heard later in October, so like mid-October, that Darby Allin was gonna be taken off. He's gonna be off of TV for like 2-3 months. He's gonna be going to Korea, and he's gonna be going to Japan for some time, to train for his hike up the fucking Mount Everest or whatever it is. So obviously, with that being noted, we already know that he's not gonna win. But I love what Christian's doing. He's one of those heels that you really legitimately love to hate, and like you wish this dude would get hit by a fucking bus. Like, that's how much you hate him and his character.
And I love that he's very old school, man.
Bro,
Gives zero fucks.
I was scrolling through social media today, and I came across the clip of him fucking telling the security to take his daughter. She's not credentialed, so to take his daughter out of the fucking arena. I mean, who the fuck is doing that, bro?
Yeah, Christian is so old school as a heel. He's the type of heel that he wants you to key his car. He is the type of heel that he wants you to pull a knife on him. You don't get that in 2023. You get that more in the 80s and the 90s. So honestly, I love it, and I love that Christian is getting his flowers.
It kind of reminds me of how Jericho used to be, like that heel scent that he had in WWE. Like, he did an interview where he talked.
Are you talking about 2008 Jericho when he wore like the suits with the short hair?
I think so. I remember he was at some kind of an event or whatever, and some woman attacked him, and he almost got beat up by a dad or whatever because his son tried to say hi in an elevator, and Jericho just totally ignored him and snobby, and just like all like the amount of heat that he got back in the day, bro. That's kind of reminds me of what Christian's doing now.
Yeah, man, I gotta say this feud with Christian Cage and Darby Allin has been 5 stars. It's been fantastic. This is one of the matches I'm definitely looking forward to the most on this card. And I gotta say, they did a fantastic job giving Christian Cage the championship. Actually, I think having that triple threat match, with Collision, it was perfect. Having Luchasaurus, hold the championship for the first time. And we really got to see his genuine feelings towards the title. And then Christian pins him and takes the title. They did it fantastically. And this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for Christian Cage to actually hold the championship. And honestly, I'm very satisfied with what they've done. And dude, right now, Christian's cooking. And here's what I hope happens. I want Nick Wayne to get involved, and I want him to sell out. I want him to turn on Darby Allin, get that heat. It'd be a great way to write Darby off of TV.
And then you can have Nick Wayne's mom on TV and have her try to love all up on Christian.
Well, you can have her, trying to tell Nick Wayne that what he's doing isn't right, but he knows what he's doing. And you get set this big plan up because obviously Nick Wayne right now isn't on the same page with Darby Allin because of the whole AR Fox thing. It only makes sense to have him sell out and, get some heat. But at the end of the day, you can have Christian go on this dominant TNT title run, and eventually, when the time is right, Nick Wayne will strike. And then you could set him up for a big pop and a big win with the TNT Championship.
Bro, man, this match is going to be so good, man. This is one of the top matches that I'm looking forward to, throughout the entire night. And should we also mention a little bit of our predictions about possibly a certain somebody possibly showing up?
Edge, man. Imagine.
The 2 out of 3 falls match, man. There's a lot of time to, implement him in there somewhere.
All I know is it's all going to be interesting. Who do you have winning this match?
I gotta go with Christian, man. Here's how I think it's gonna happen. I feel like I feel like Darby Allin is gonna be on the verge of winning. Somebody comes out, attacks him, gives him the concerto, pulls Christian on top of him, 1, 2, 3. I feel like that person is gonna be Edge, man. Obviously it's hard to really pinpoint now because we don't know what the falls are gonna be per se. Because there's always the first fall is a wrestling match, the second fall is a last man standing or whatever, and then the third is a ladder match or
No, this isn't 3
whatever it is.
stages of hell. It's just a 2 out of 3 falls. So you have to get 2 pinfalls to win.
So I could definitely see a certain somebody come showing up, man.
So with my predictions here, I do have Christian Cage retaining the championship. And I think that Nick Wayne is going to turn heel, and he's going to turn on Darby Allin. He's going to sell out. And I think Christian Cage is going to retain the title, and he's going to take Nick Wayne under his wing.
Yeah, but if Nick Wayne turns on Darby and attacks Darby and helps Christian, there would be no need for, Mr. Copeland.
Well, you could have Mr. Copeland show up after the screw job happens. And that could make a perfect cliffhanger for Dynamite. What's Edge doing here? What's going to happen now? Yeah. And you could have that segment with him and Christian, but have the stare down happen at Wrestle Dream. So I do got to go Christian Cage, man. Don't fix something that's not broken. He's making this championship very prestigious again. We don't need him to be a transitional champion. I'm so happy that Luchasaurus, is not the champion now. I'm glad.
I could see Luchasaurus showing up and sort of getting in the face of Christian, and then Edge, that's how Mr. Copeland comes out. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, bro, that can happen.
When Edge shows up, it's going to be a huge surprise because it's going to be something that none of us are thinking about right now.
Yeah.
Edge is always creative, man, because one of the things I always remembered from Edge that I enjoyed so much as a kid, because I hated him, which he was doing his job. 2006 ECW One Night Stand, when, he wore the leather jacket, wearing all black with, the helmet on, and then smeared Cena through the table and cost him the WWE Championship in that arena. That was insane.
This is almost like you putting your car keys or your phone down somewhere and then fucking forgetting you put them, and it's in the stupidest fucking place imaginable. Now I feel like this is gonna be one of those instances, man. It's gonna be something that we all realize, but it's gonna be something that none of us are thinking about.
Absolutely. So we both have Christian Cage, but moving on now to our next match here. It is for the ROH World Championship and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight Championship, Eddie Kingston versus Shibata.
Yeah, and before we continue a little bit, congratulations to Eddie Kingston signing for a new contract, 4 more years with AEW.
Yep, which, by the way, to the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, we are going to be covering the Eddie Kingston, contract extension over on the podcast tomorrow. So recommend you guys to go listen to that when it comes out.
Yeah, make sure you guys check it out. But we know how much Eddie Kingston loves and appreciates New Japan and everything that that's what he wanted to do. He never had aspirations of being in WWE or WrestleMania. His aspiration was I want to main event Tokyo Dome. I want to be involved in that. And to see how far he's come. And I remember hearing a story about, before AEW started, before AEW gave him a contract, he was so broke, he was on the verge of selling his house, moving back with his parents, selling all his belongings, and getting a little side job or whatever. That way he can still continue to wrestle, but he'd be able to pay his bills. And 4 or 5 years later, to see how far the guy's come, like,
He deserves it.
congratulations to him, man. Like, Eddie Kingston, he's one of those guys that people don't appreciate, but I feel like he deserves all the appreciation in the world because he's a fucking workhorse.
Dude, I've said this. He is the Tommy Dreamer of AEW, man. He is the heart and soul of that place. And you can easily, at any time, put this man in the main event picture. And he could get that massive pop against the heel for the AEW World Championship. He is somebody that you could build your company around if you do it right.
Yep.
And I got to say this, man. I know this is going to be a solid match, but it is one of the matches I am not really looking forward to. I do love Eddie Kingston, but Shibata, I know he's a good wrestler, but they haven't really done anything storyline-wise. I think that they're doing this because it is Wrestle Dream, so they do want to add some, New Japan in there. So I totally understand why they're doing it, but it's not one of my matches that I'm really looking forward to, but I know it's going to be a good one.
I'm looking forward to it because of Eddie Kingston, and I will support everything that he does just because I like him. I like the kind of person that he is.
Dude, I love Kingston.
And,
he's 150% real.
We see the amount of work that he puts in. You know what I mean? So I always want to be able to support those kind of guys. Because there's guys that are good, but they don't give a fuck, and you can clearly see that. Like, Eddie Kingston cares about this, so I'll support everything that he does.
The way he praises TK in interviews and the way he presents himself on TV, like, you get what you get with him, and honestly, he deserves all the success in the world. Even when Cody Rhodes did that open challenge, Kingston, man, he really went all out to earn that AEW contract. He deserves his flowers. He deserves his respect. And it's only a matter of time before he gets it. Who do you got winning this?
I gotta go with Eddie Kingston. Like, I don't know much about Shibata's work. Like, I'm not that familiar.
One of Ricky's favorite wrestlers.
I'm not that familiar with, like, New Japan and stuff like that. Just because.
Oh, man, that was funny as hell.
A lot of New Japan shows, and I've learned that watching Wrestle Kingdom 17 back in January. Like, it's on at 3 o'clock in the morning, over here where we live. And I'm just like, I'm not that dedicated to it to want to stay up that late to watch.
One of our close, We Are Wrestling Maniacs, Ricky, who's, usually a part of the watch-alongs and stuff. He's, a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, and Shibata is one of his favorite wrestlers. I remember, we went to AEW Collision in Hartford, Connecticut at the XL Center, and Shibata came out during, the Ring of Honor, taping after the show. And man, Ricky was so happy to see this man. It was hilarious. It was great.
That's awesome, though, because even though, like, I may not, be that knowledgeable or be that big of a fan of New Japan or whatever, I feel like, they deserve their flowers as well.
They do, absolutely.
New Japan and, pro wrestlers from Japan, like, all the way back to, like, the sumo wrestler days and, like, gladiators or whatever. Like, it's a very legendary sport over there, so they do deserve their flowers. So I'm glad that we actually know somebody personally that loves New Japan. It's pretty cool.
And we are, talking to him. We are trying to get him to, eventually have his own series on the We Are Wrestling channel covering New Japan stuff.
It's all about time. Like that.
But I do have Eddie Kingston winning as well. I think he's going to retain, his championships. Doesn't make sense for, Shibata to hold the Pure title and, the Ring of Honor World title on an AEW card.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, who knows? But I do think that Eddie Kingston will win.
Eddie Kingston, 100%, man. The dude deserves his fucking roses, man. Praise him.
All right. Well, moving on now to our next match. It is for the AEW TBS champion, Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart.
Bro, man, I said it last night on AEW Dynamite. Julia Hart's a fucking superstar, bro. Julia Hart, like, everything from her fucking entrance to, like, I love how the arena's all dark, whatever, and you see the glowing light behind her, and just like
The hat too, how the
going
hat
back
reflects
to
as
when
well with the lights.
going back to when she was with Brian Pillman Jr. and seeing how she was, as that cheerleader gimmick to how she is now. I feel like this is the real Julie Hart that we're seeing now. Just because
21
it's so
years old.
bro. She's
21.
imagine when she's 26, 27. Like she's gonna be a fucking megastar, bro. She's 2
Dude.
years out of high school.
Dude, I'm telling you this right now about Julia Hart. Man, she is putting on some of the best work right now in her run. And I love that, they're showcasing her on Collision regularly now. I think Brody King, because obviously, Malachi, he's, dealing with some injuries, which we also cover on the podcast tomorrow as well. And, Buddy Matthews is sidelined. So right now they're, letting Julia Hart do her thing. And Brody King is by her side. And honestly, she's gotten really fucking good in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
And the presentation is perfect. And she's really becoming her own, which honestly, I love to see because AEW women's division, they have a lot of solid role players in their division. They just need to get that star, which is why I'm hoping Mercedes Moné does make her debut at this show, because I think they could definitely use her star power that could really elevate the division, because every team that's a championship team, they all have, their stars, but they also have the role players, and you can't win the championship without those role players. I think the AEW women's division, they have fantastic role players in their division that are very, very talented, but they're not getting the opportunities that they deserve or the TV time because they don't have the stars that can make the role players better. Yeah. And I think that Julia Hart and Chris Statlander are both very solid role players. And I think that this is going to be one of the best women matches because Chris Statlander, people need to stop sleeping on this woman. And Julia Hart, she is showing up. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too, man. I'm excited to see what Julia Hart does. I will say I don't think she's gonna win tomorrow just because Chris Statlander just came back. She just won the title. She beat Jay Cargill twice, who you also talk about on the podcast tomorrow. But I feel like it's gonna give Julia Hart more momentum to potentially be TBS champion in the future. I don't believe this is going to be the final match between her and Chris Statlander. I feel like this
if
is
she loses, I hope not.
I feel like this is just the beginning.
Because I think that these two, if you give them the proper TV time, I think that they could, have a storyline that can go all the way to Full Gear. I would not complain.
It is definitely a very real possibility. I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do, man, because I'm just like everything that Julia does, I'm interested in. And, it's a lot of it used to have to do with, I'm a big fan of House of Black, like, Brody King and Malachi and Buddy. Like, I'm just a huge fan of that group or whatever. And then when Julia Hart got added to it, I feel like, that was like the missing puzzle.
Just like Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. I think, a female definitely adds more to a group.
And like you just said, Julia Hart's only 21, bro. She is light years above, what people her age should be capable of. And I feel like she's only going to get better as time goes on.
I think, her being in the shadows, just getting better, because that's the thing. Why I think a lot of people now are saying, wow, she's more than just a valet. Because people forget that, AEW, they did have Dark, Elevation, and they would put her in matches to let her get her reps in the ring every week. Yeah. And now, they keep it under the radar, which I think is fantastic. And now, they feel very comfortable with her on TV. She probably has a lot of confidence in her wrestling work now that she's been working with Malachi and Buddy and Brody. And I think that, she's really becoming her own, and I'm very proud of her.
I am
so
too,
who do
man.
we have winning this match?
I gotta go with Chris Statlander, but I feel like Julia Hart's gonna give her one hell of a fight, and I do feel like this is only the beginning of something that we're gonna be seeing, carry on, maybe into Full Gear, maybe a little bit past that, who knows? But I feel like it's gonna lead to something big.
This is going to be my wild card pick. I love Chris Statlander. You know that firsthand. I'm going Julia Hart. I think that it's the right time right now. She's got a lot of momentum. And with, the House of Black not really doing anything right now because of, Malachi's injury, I think that this will be a great way to keep them relevant. And I think that Chris Statlander, I think if she loses the title, that doesn't mean she, gets out of the title picture. I think that, she has a reason to go after Julia Hart and you can continue this feud. And it'll give her something to chase.
I could see Julia Hart, doing a move on her or whatever, and then, having her pin Chris Statlander, and then having Brody King sort of hold Chris Statlander's legs down so she can't kick out. Something like that. Yeah,
I think Julia Hart, honestly, I'm going to say it. I think that she should win the championship. It'll be something different. And eventually you can have Chris Statlander win the title back.
Yep.
Because, they can have a solid storyline. I think it'll just especially with the House of Black, with their dark characters, the mind games that they can play on Chris Statlander, it'll add so much more to it. And, AEW, especially with their, mid-card championship, they do need to have, more storylines involved.
Yep. I definitely don't think she should lose clean though.
No, it can't be clean.
Because you have to add to the story in order for it to continue. You know what I mean?
Very true. So I have Julia Hart. You have Chris Statlander.
Yeah, I gotta go with Chris Statlander, man. I feel like either which, it doesn't matter.
I'm not complaining who wins, man. I think that this is going to be a great match, and whatever the outcome is, I believe in Tony Khan, and I believe in, both of these women. Hopefully, whatever decision they make, it benefits both of them because they're fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But moving on now to our next match on the card, we have a 6-man tag match. Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Ibushi versus Sammy Guevara, Will Ospreay, and Takeshita.
You should have just said Don Callis family, man, because that's exactly what they are.
I will not call them that.
I will not call them that. I gotta say, man, I wasn't 100% sold on this match, and then obviously now we have elements of, the Jericho and Sammy Guevara after what happened at Grand Slam, man.
I knew that was going to happen when I saw Sammy Guevara's gear because he wore the WrestleMania 19 Jericho inspired. I knew he was going to do the low blow because that's what Jericho did to Shawn Michaels. I knew that was going to happen. Loved it.
It's going to be a great match, man. I like the ruthlessness of Don Callis,
Don Callis has been fantastic asset.
They just went to Ibushi's dojo in Tokyo and beat the fuck out of him, man. And I'm just
that's some Cobra Kai stuff right there that they did.
That's some Cobra Kai stuff, man. And the creepy ass paintings that Don Callis has, been
dude, his masterpieces. Don Callis is the perfect heel manager. I love what this man is doing. He's getting nuclear heat for just doing the stupidest things that are just getting under people's skin. I think that this is great. And then having Takeshita, Kenny Omega putting him over not once, but twice on 2 big shows adds so much more credibility to Don Callis, Takeshita, and the family.
Oh,
and this is great. This is great. Don Callis
bro.
is finally getting his family together for once. It's like his family is all over the place. He has Will Ospreay, who's in Japan and the UK. He has now Sammy Guevara, who's doing his vlogs and stuff. And then you have Takeshita, who is just, an ass kicker.
I'm kind of curious to see if we're going to be able to see Will Ospreay's tattoo.
That was one of the funniest things on the
He
podcast.
might have a fucking paper towel or something wrapped around his fucking arm.
Elbow pad going a little bit higher up than the elbow. But man, I do gotta say this, like,
Konosuke Takeshita, bro, the dude, like,
I'm
Kenny
really looking
Omega
forward
made
to
that dude
this.
into a fucking legend, bro.
I'm really looking forward to this match. It does have storyline to it, especially because Jericho and Omega feuded back in, New Japan when Jericho, before he signed with AEW.
Yeah,
And they
Tokyo
had
Dome.
some classics. So I love the elements here that are involved in this storyline because for the first time, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, they're somewhat on the same page. And when you have two big stars like that on the same page, it's definitely interesting for those day one fans like myself who have been, paying attention to, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho and seeing them, get to this point. It makes you want to root for them. And I think that, this is going to be great.
It's going to be great, man. And I'm looking forward to this match. Like
many solid freaking storylines and matches for this card. I'm so excited. Live watch along on Sunday, guys. Wrestle Dream. Danny and I will be live. It's going to be a great fucking time. Doing this predictions is making me even more excited for this card.
Bro, just everything that's going into the show, man. This is how AEW needs to continue to book their fucking pay-per-views, man. Because matches that are just thrown together,
solid matches and storylines, except for maybe Shibata and Kingston, but still.
Even I'm sure even that has some kind of a story from New Japan or whatever, like the New Japan archive.
Yeah, that we're not, paying attention to. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
but
so
I love this 6-man tag match. This is perfect. Because we already got Takeshita versus Omega.
And bro,
we already got Jericho versus Guevara. This is perfect.
The two major players from fucking Winnipeg, bro. Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. Tag teaming.
For the first time, man. I love everything about this. Who do we got winning?
I gotta go with Jericho, Omega, and Ibushi, man. Just because Kenny Omega, he got beat twice, but in two major matches by Takeshita. I feel like they need some kind of advantage, and I feel like winning this match, it'll be able to carry on with the story, with whatever the story is gonna be, because obviously it's not ending. But I feel like if you have Takeshita and that team win again, it's gonna take some credibility away from Kenny Omega and Jericho and them.
It's going to definitely be interesting whichever way they go. I definitely believe in,
But then again, Jericho beat Sammy Guevara at Grand Slam. So, I mean, I
was going to give you my prediction. I have the Don Callis family winning this. Sammy Guevara pins Chris Jericho.
You said you wouldn't call him that.
Well, now I am, because I'm very excited about them being all together for the first time ever.
I got goosebumps, man. Oh my God.
This is the family reunion this family has been waiting for, because they're all over the place, but now they can actually have Sunday dinner before the 6-man tag match. I'm going with the Don Callis family.
Bro,
I'm a simp for Don Callis.
We've had Jericho versus Omega. We've had Jericho versus Will Ospreay. We've had Will Ospreay versus Omega. I mean, oh my God, bro.
This is why it makes so much sense. And here's what I think is going to happen. Sammy Guevara is going to get that big pin on Chris Jericho, and it's just going to add more fuel to this storyline. And then I think what's going to happen at Full Gear, we're getting Anarchy in the arena. Don Callis family versus Jericho, Omega, and probably Hangman and a couple other people.
Oh my God, man. I'm so excited.
So you got Kenny, Jericho, and Ibushi. I have the Don Callis family. All right, well, moving on now to our next match. We have Swerve Strickland, home court advantage versus Hangman Adam Page.
This last night the contract signing on Wednesday, I feel like that really sold it for me. When was the last time you really saw, that ruthlessness from Adam Page? He's sort of like, he's been
missing for a while since the world title.
he's angry, but he has like angry moments, whatever. But he's sort of chill. I mean, last night, bro, he fucking took a pen and stabbed Swerve in his hand. And signed the contract in blood. That's how they worded it on commentary. I gotta say, man, Swerve is doing the best stuff in his career. Like this stuff between him and Hangman, like, oh my god, bro. Again, story. And it's fucking fantastic.
Finally, man, they're using Swerve the right way. I'm still not a fan of the whole Prince Nani thing. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't know why.
Bro, I saw a video of him.
I know him dancing, doing his little, and the crowd doing
that
it
shit
too.
is fucking over, bro.
It's over. I get why
and
people like Prince Nani.
I can't talk shit about him because one of my reactions that I posted on Instagram, he fucking liked it. So I can't be too negative.
I'm not a fan of Prince Nani, Prince Nana. I don't really care for him that much. But Swerve right now is doing some of the best work as a heel, and Hangman has needed a solid feud. And honestly, I hope this isn't the end of the whole Swerve and Hangman story, because I think there's more to be told. Yeah. And I think that, Swerve needs to continue to be in a compelling storyline. And Hangman needs that too, because they both get lost in the shuffle so much. And I feel like they both don't deserve that. They deserve to be on, these pay-per-views as single stars. Mm-hmm. It's just, they need the right people to, work with. And I think them two, feuding against each other is a great match. And exactly, I think that this is going to be, I think, a 5-star.
I think it's going to be very close, man. And with
4.75.
4.85. How about that, man?
Ooh. Okay. Well, who do we have winning this?
I gotta go with Swerve, man. I just feel like he could use a massive victory. You know what I mean? I feel like Swerve has sort of been, cut and pasted in so many different storylines. Like we never
putting
even
people
got
over every storyline.
We never got any kind of completion between him and Keith Lee, and we didn't with the whole cinder block spot. We never really got any resolution to that. I feel like this is like the first storyline to where Swerve is actually in that makes sense, but it's also like almost like to a completion. Like obviously, like we've seen the Darby and AR Fox storyline or whatever. I don't even know if that ended or how that ended.
So it was the stupidest ending with that pissed me off.
But so I feel like Swerve could use this big win. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, he was putting the coffin and all out.
I feel like if he keeps losing, bro, it's gonna take away credibility. And somebody as good as Swerve, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Swerve on this one. I think that you could have him win the first match, then eventually have Hangman and Swerve main event a Dynamite or something. You could have Hangman win, and then you could have the rubber match at Full Gear. So honestly, I'm gonna have to go with Swerve.
Yeah,
he needs it. You're right.
He definitely needs it, man. And plus, home court advantage, man. He's gonna have his whole hometown, backing himself.
Absolutely. So moving on now to our last match before the main event for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. FTR versus Ozzy.
Oi, oi, oi. I'm actually.
This is going to be a banger.
I've slowly become a big fan of Ozzy Open, man. Their match with Hardys, their match with MJF and Adam Cole. Like, I'm a fan of their style. I'm a fan of, they actually Kyle Fletcher. I mean, he sounds really good on the mic, in that
dude. I mean, if you watch Collision, him on commentary, that was very good. Like he was, really, telling the story, because obviously outside of AEW, these teams have met before. And action. And that's the thing, like Kyle Fletcher did a fantastic job on Collision on commentary, telling the story, because obviously this isn't the first time we got Ozzy Open versus FTR. They've had, lots of classics outside of AEW, and I'm glad that they're like kind of, acknowledging that. And I think that, you know, the promo work with FTR and them has been fantastic. Love the rivalry, love the storyline. And I think that was very smart for Aussie Open to be put in, you know, the buy-in for All Out against MJF and Adam Cole, because I think it was a great way from them to transition from being just Ring of Honor guys to, you know, regular AEW stars.
And even if it was just a buy-in and not on the actual show, I feel like the buy-ins get more viewers than the actual pay-per-view. You know, that way they can sort of see the feel of it, but they don't necessarily got to pay the $50 or whatever it is. You know, so I feel like with them being on the buy-in, especially against Adam Cole and MJF, because everybody, even we were in the car on your way to your house when, you know, we tried to watch it or whatever, but the connectivity issues. You know, so that brought more eyes to what Aussie Open is capable of. Even if they,
Aussie Open
they
is
didn't win,
so good.
Even if they didn't win, you know, it still put them over.
This is going to be like, I've been saying 5-star a lot. This is going to be a 5-star guaranteed.
I mean, you can't have I feel like
this card is going to have at least 2 5-star matches.
Bro, Jim
maybe
Cornette's
3.
Gonna lose his fucking mind.
Well, sucks to be Jim Cornette, man. His hairline's going to recede more, just like yours. That's the thing I do feel like is going to happen, man, with FTR and Aussie Open. They're going to put on a classic, and this is going to be a great match. More eyes on Aussie Open, which is exactly what they need as a new tag team in AEW. But I do have to go with FTR, man. They are on fire right now. I don't see them losing to Aussie Open.
Nope. I mean, FTR, bro, like, obviously we send the wars that they've had with the Briscoe brothers, with the Young Bucks, you know, countless other teams. You know, I mean, bro, put them in the ring for 20 minutes with fucking blow up dolls. They'll have a 5-star match. Like, I don't honestly think FTR are capable of having a bad match. I legitimately don't.
I don't think so either, and I feel like
store mannequins from fucking Walmart, bro, and they'll put on an instant classic. Okay.
Here's the thing: I feel like FTR shouldn't lose the titles right now. They have so much momentum, and honestly, I don't know who should be the ones to take the titles off of them, but I wouldn't take the titles off of them anytime yet. I feel like they have a lot more to prove.
If I had to say it right now, give my prediction on that right now, I would say Adam Cole and MJF, if they're going to continue the storyline.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to remember MJF, January 1st, bidding war.
You honestly believe that?
I still believe it, man, until I see, you know, the whole big news breaks. I do hope MJF does re-sign and gets that big fat deal, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. But moving on now to our main event match for Wrestle Dream. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Zack Sabre Jr., man. This match was supposed to happen at the very first Forbidden Door, but Danielson ended up getting injured like a week or two before the match or whatever, so it had to get scrapped. And I think they ended up making like a triple threat match, if I remember correctly.
Fatal 4-way.
Fatal 4-way. Isn't that the match that Adam Cole ended up getting a concussion in?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know much about Zack Sabre Jr. Again, he's another talent from New
Japan. I got to watch him. I do got to say this, since, you know, he is a part of this match, and I finally get to share this story. I actually got to watch Zack wrestle a 1-hour match at Blitzkrieg Pro in 2017 versus Joey Janela. It was fantastic.
Oh my God.
And I got to meet him too, which he was a very nice person.
This match is going to be killer, man. Again, Bryan Danielson's one of those guys that I don't feel like is capable of having a bad match. I really don't.
Here's what I'm hoping out of this. I really hope Bryan Danielson stays healthy through this, because I guess apparently he's been working gimmick matches since coming back, because it's less risky to, you know, wrestle a gimmick match for him than, you know, a regular technical match.
I mean, he wrestled a technical match with Tanahashi, and you saw how that ended up.
Yep. But man, I gotta say this. this is a great main event for Wrestle Dream. Definitely makes sense to have, these two who are, technical geniuses. And in 2023, these two are battling for that number one spot as the best technical
And like I
wrestler right
said,
now.
this match was supposed to happen last year around June at the first Forbidden Door, but it couldn't. And it only makes sense that a year later the match is happening. We finally
And
get to see it.
this match is a dream match for the die-hard professional wrestling fans. This isn't a casual match. This is for us die-hard pro
Well,
wrestling fans.
Ricky's gonna
And
fucking
that is
cream
what
himself.
Wrestle Dream is supposed to be. And I think that this works as the main event because they both technically are the best technical wrestlers in the game right now. And the card surrounded by this main event all have compelling, solid storylines going into this.
Yeah.
So I give them the pass for this because, yes, there hasn't really been much storylines involved with this because Danielson's been working with Starks, but there doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very excited for this main event. It's going to be a fun one, and I can't wait to sit back, eat some
That's
popcorn.
why they put Wrestle.
This.
That's why they put Wrestle in front of Dream.
Yep.
The entire card is nothing but story and pro wrestling and great stuff. And then you have the one match that's your dream match, man. That's gonna be the main event: Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson.
Absolutely. So, who do you have winning this classic?
I gotta go with Bryan Danielson. I'm not that familiar with Zack Sabre Jr. Outside of like the Fatal 4-Way match that he had at Forbidden Door last year, whatever. I don't watch a lot of like like AAA and New Japan stuff like that. I don't really, like living over here in America. Like you really gotta search those things out. They're not like readily available to you. You know what I mean? So I don't keep an eye on it too much. But I know what Bryan's capable of. And I know he would not he would not choose to work with somebody that was not up to his standards. So this match is going to be killer.
I do have, Bryan Danielson beating Zach. I think that this is going to be a fantastic match. Guaranteed it's going to be going over 30 minutes, this one. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be a fun one. I really hope that Danielson stays healthy through this match because I really want to see, how this run, is for him because apparently next year, he's, going to be pretty much, on a lesser schedule.
Yep.
So his full-time, run is going to be up. So I really want him to stay healthy throughout this entire run and just have dream matches and have fun.
He promised his daughter that by her 7th birthday that he would be retired from in-ring competitions. So, it's kind of ironic that the story came out about, Tony Khan, wanting to give him AEW if something ever happened to him, and now we're hearing about Danielson, wrapping it up in 2024. I mean, it speaks volumes, and I wonder what his next position within the company is going to be.
And I'm glad that he's able to make that decision for himself and not a doctor because the first time around, he didn't want to retire. He wasn't ready to hang the boots up. And I'm glad that, Danielson's able to do that now. Same with, Saraya, same with Edge, same with Christian. I'm glad that, they're able to get cleared and they get to have this final run. And honestly, I really hope Big E gets that opportunity as well.
I'm hoping, man.
And Jason Jordan too, because I know he hasn't been able to get cleared either.
I will say, man, if Edge can come back from what he came back from,
anybody can.
Possible. Don't rule anything out, man. As long as you're not in a fucking wheelchair, anything is possible.
So now, any other predictions that you have for Wrestle Dream before we close this off?
No, we pretty much talked about, each match, went down the match card, talked about our thoughts on the stories. We talked about, the possibility of Adam Copeland, Edge coming in. We talked about Mercedes coming in at some point. I don't know, man. Like, is this gonna be the show of all shows? Like, is this gonna be where AEW really solidifies himself as being a top dog in this fight, man? Just they can still be a top dog without being number one. So
exactly, and this I think is going to be the pay-per-view that solidifies them as the number 2 in, all of pro wrestling. And nobody's ever going to, get to WWE. Let's call it like it is. Yes, I enjoy AEW a lot more than WWE. I've always enjoyed, the, B show over the A, even with, TNA in 2006 to, 2009. I enjoyed watching that more than WWE. And that was during the Ruthless Aggression era. So that's telling you something. I want, all of pro wrestling to strive, and WWE will always be the flagship show. The only time that they were close to losing that was against WCW. They fought for that flag and they won it. AEW, though, they are, the solid number 2 show, and I think that this pay-per-view is going to prove that. And I don't think that anybody's going to take that spot from AEW.
I mean, Impact has been around 27 years, bro, and they're not even close. So what does that say?
Well, Impact, in my opinion, they're definitely still in the top 5, but they do have a lot of work that they have to do, production-wise and behind-the-scenes stuff, because they are putting on great shows. They have a solid roster. They just need, Anthem to give them a better TV deal, and honestly, they just need to get one really big star that can really, push them to that.
I mean, if they were on like a legitimate television station, bro, I would have no issue watching it. It's just like, I don't know what's going on in the show, and I don't feel like having to search it up, man, to find out. So who knows? Maybe in the future it'll happen. Who knows?
Yeah, but I gotta say though, my last, prediction, if Chris Statlander retains the title from Julia Hart, I could see Mercedes Moné making her debut after that match, and that could set up, Mercedes versus Statlander for Full Gear, which, if that happens, that right there might be the best women's match in AEW history, right next to Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, because
that speaks volumes on how Tony Khan,
Chris Statlander is that good to put on a 5-star with Mercedes. And I know we were chatting about this earlier in, the group chat. Ben absolutely despises Mercedes Moné, but she is talented. The girl can put on a classic 5-star match with anybody. And she has, the accolades to show it. So honestly, I can see that happening.
We just got to remember, we don't know, because obviously she doesn't like going public with too many things. We don't know what the injury status of her is, and that's why Willow beat her at that New Japan show or whatever, because she was injured. She's been out. She hasn't really been, she hasn't competed in, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. So we don't know what the injury status is.
We're definitely getting a debut at Wrestle Dream. It's going to happen. Somebody, I think it's going to be Mercedes.
If it's not Mercedes Moné, it's going to be Adam Copeland, and you could have Mercedes Moné come in at Full Gear. Maybe she doesn't want to come in until she's in-ring ready.
Here's the thing about Adam Copeland. I could see Edge making his AEW debut at Wrestle Dream. I could see it. But I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to hit us by surprise. I don't know. I feel like
I don't even want to talk about it, man. I just want to sit there and enjoy the fucking show.
Exactly. Me too. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I think that Wrestle Dream is going to be a great card, and we want to know, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs that are listening or watching, let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on the card and the matches. Which ones are you looking forward to? I think that this is going to be a great card. Danny's excited. Also, we're going to be live on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel this Sunday for Wrestle Dream. We're going to have a live watch along. Danny and myself will be here. I'm going to probably be eating some pizza and some popcorn. Danny, he's going to be chilling with me. And we're going to have a great time. But if you guys enjoyed, our predictions for Wrestle Dream, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. If you're listening to this, give us a 5-star review. Not just a 5-star review, but a best one review, and download the episode. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Danny and I over on our social medias and other YouTube pages. All that down below. On my personal channel, I do a bunch of, toy hunts and toy reviews. You can see the background. Danny, He also does, live watch-alongs on one channel, and another channel, he does, music reactions. All the links are down in the description below if you want to support us on our personal stuff. But to all that we are wrestling maniacs out there worldwide, we'll see you on Sunday for Wrestle Dream. And of course, you already know, we are taking over. Peace.